Hello, and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Matt Lateplo, and on behalf of OTC Markets, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from Lomiko Metals. Please note you can submit questions for the company in the box to the left of the slides. You can also view a company's availability for one-on-one meetings through the Schedule Meetings tab found on the conference platform. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Belinda Labatte, CEO and Director of Lomiko Metals Inc., which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol LMRMF and on the TSXV under the symbol LMR. Welcome, Belinda.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. We're going to be talking today about how all the signals are pointing towards a very healthy market for natural flake graphite in North America. So good morning, everyone. We are developing that strategic stockpile of graphite and lithium properties in Quebec for a North American climate success story. As you know, I will be talking about forward-looking information this morning and would like to draw your attention to the disclaimer, which you can read at your leisure or you may already be very familiar with. Our land acknowledgement. When we are looking at developing a critical minerals resource in Canada or anywhere, we believe that the land acknowledgement is the first component to doing business correctly and in the future. We would like to acknowledge that the land and projects where we operate are located within the traditional land of the Algonquin, Anishinaabe, and Cree-Inuit people. And our vision is to embrace Indigenous people and values within our projects and develop a sustainable approach to critical minerals development and honoring the lives, memories, and hopes of all 7 generations close. I'll be focusing today on our Loutre graphite project, and it is located within the KZ First Nations territory. It is part of the Algonquin Nation. It is located in southern Quebec, and we will also be talking about the Bourrier lithium project located in northern Quebec, and that is on Cree territory, Iu-Iche, James Bay. So let's talk about what makes Lomiko different and what are advantages. And there are many factors right now that are leading to a very healthy and robust awakening of critical minerals in North America. We have a diverse and experienced team. We came in just over 2 years ago to build this project and grow a regional approach to natural flake graphite in Quebec. We have been focusing on developing the relationships at the provincial level, the federal level, and even internationally with partners in Canada, Quebec, and the USA. We are community focused and work very closely to answer and respond to all the community questions on the project. What do we have here that's so special is that we've got the largest undeveloped inferred resource for natural flake graphite in Canada that is south to the United States. So from a proximity perspective, building out the electric vehicle supply chain, we are very well positioned. We have over 70% fines in our flake distribution, which is exactly what you're looking for to build your anode market. And located in a jurisdiction that uses hydro energy with a massive over $100 billion investment plan coming from Hydro-Quebec in the next decade. So we're very happy to be able to provide for clean energy and be using clean energy in the build out of this project. We've achieved 99.9% purity in current tests, which I will talk about. And we are positioned to have a production potential where we can provide up to 10% of demand for graphite in North America. The collaborations is a very important part of how we want to do business and how we see the business of critical minerals going forward. So we have been working heavily on grants and on research work through these organizations here, CRETIM, COREM, Investissement Québec, as well as research with University of Laval. And we have SOQUEM from Quebec as a shareholder from an acquisition we made to a project just north of us called Carmin. The company is also Ecologo certified, which is a specific designation for exploration companies in Quebec. And so you can see that we are very committed to doing business in Quebec and will continue to do the work through the provincial and federal governments. Our project, as a result of a drill campaign that we set up and where we had a mineral resource estimate come out last year, has now positioned us as the 7th largest project or deposit in the world. And you can see that Canada is well endowed in this respect because both our project and Labatte are situated on the Grenville graphite belt. That belt is over 2,000 kilometers long, and we are at the southern tip, and again, the southernmost project in Canada to the United States and the Battery Belt and Battery Highway, as it's known. The market for graphite. Let's talk a little bit about what is happening here. The EV market is growing. There were 11 million cars sold in 2020, and this is about a 3 times improvement in sales from what it was just a few years ago. The growth trajectory is clearly showing that the internal combustion engine is on the decline, and the EV, because the technology is better and it's a cleaner technology, is on the rise. The market contraction that we are seeing now is wholly dependent upon the economic environment that we're in, where car purchases are often dependent on interest rates, which are at an all-time high. What we do see, the Fed reducing interest rates in the next year, providing for a very good environment for these sales to go up. And the market for graphite will continue because of EVs, but for other reasons, which I will walk through here. Lomiko can provide 10% of North American graphite, and that's really looking at the battery plants in development. A couple of years ago, there were just 2 plants. Now there are over 30 being developed throughout the United States, with some in Canada as well, increasing the need for graphite for all of those battery technologies, which are still currently using graphite in the anode. So by 2030, the production capacity will support manufacturing roughly 10 to 13 million all-electric vehicles per year. And you can see that soon the demand will go even beyond that. And the need will be for graphite because the United States, as is Canada, is 100% dependent on imports, with the exception of about under 20,000 tons produced per year from a small project just north of us in Canada. The need for graphite is driven by the need for the anode material in electric vehicles, which you can see on the graph on the left. The EV demand curve is driving the growth for graphite. We are currently seeing about 1.7 million tons per year of graphite in the global market, which has been at equilibrium because it has been growing with GDP without the anode growth through the Chinese production capacity. Now that is going to be changing in the future, as we know that the Chinese have installed export restrictions on graphite. And so this growth in terms of the supply needed to meet the demand, as you can see on the graph on the right, is really going to push the need for localized supply chain development. And this has been reinforced, as mentioned, with the PRC announcing restrictions on both natural flake and synthetic graphite. The Loutre graphite project, to situate you, is located on a claim on the right with our 2 primary deposits outlined in red. And those are part of the mineral resource estimate. And we also acquired the Carmin zone, which is somewhat to the north of us, which has a historical resource. Over the life of mine, we have production of 21.8 million tons of mill feed of 6.78% carbon diluted. And that is the equivalent to graphite concentrate production at 1.43 million tons, grading at 95% graphite. So very strong recoveries. Obviously, when I mentioned to you that right now, globally, there's about 1.7 million, almost 2 million tons of graphite. given the demand and supply chain dynamics in the world today, you can see that we have a meaningful resource to add to the need for more graphite. At a minimum, we're seeing about a 15-year mine life, producing 100,000 tons per year. And we've seen exceptional results with our flotation tests showing very high concentrate, very good recoveries that allow us to purify this quite easily for anode grade material. The resource estimate that I have spoken about in 2021 was about 1 million tons of total between the two deposits of graphite. We have now doubled that to 2.9, or almost 3 million tons between two deposits, maintaining the grade of that deposit and also showing that we have a PEA that is using only the 2021 results. So that 100,000 tons per year certainly has some runway for improvement as we move through into the PFS stage of development with that 184% increase in tonnage in indicated mineral resources. What the company has focused on, what the team has been focusing on of late, is metallurgical studies. We completed half-cell battery testing. It surpassed the commercial graphite results. You can see there in the graph below with our supplier or our lab in the United States. They tested our graphite, putting it through these half-coin or half-cell battery tests, showing that we surpassed the commercial graphite available in terms of charging capacity. So this is very exciting. We have more work to do. We are also working with the National Research Council in Canada, with COREM, and with SGS labs to do more testing related to the metallurgical profile of our graphite. And everything is showing improvement from what was earlier indicated in the PEA. So now we are seeing that we have over 70% fines content, which is the type of flake distribution that you want to see for anode grade. And that lock cycle testing, which is essentially mimicking a flotation plant process in a laboratory setting, that achieved 94.7% recoveries and reconciled grade of up to 99.1% through various tests. Very strong. And the 100 mesh, as a reminder to those who are new to graphite, is what you are looking for in terms of CSPG, spherical graphite, the precursor for battery production. The Loutre graphite development milestone is such that we could be and have production potential to be in the market by 2028. This is obviously dependent on permitting and capital. It's a very exciting time right now because of the compression we've seen regarding the export restrictions from China and the long-term electrification of our industry, of our society. We are seeing that the permitting environment is going to be smoother as the governments see that critical minerals need to get a priority in terms of how the projects are looked at. We're seeing more grants being made available. And I do think that we are going to see private equity coming in to work with companies like ours that are heavily focused on studies but have a fantastic deposit to bring to the market. The exploration potential that our team has been working through involves looking at the region from a responsible development perspective. That is to say, we have acquired claims. We have identified 55 targets in the region, which will help us assess how we can create a longer mine life, more sustainable jobs, a more sustainable business model for the Loutre project. That work will continue. We have seen good results throughout these deposits. Some of the indications are below, and it is still early stage. So a field program is planned for 2024 to expand on the target sampling, and we will be updating the market on which targets we work through in 2024. We have also acquired 49% of the lithium project in Nemaska at the tail end of the Nemaska lithium belt. This 49% ownership was achieved in December. We are still waiting for studies to determine if we choose to go to a higher percentage ownership. But clearly, being here at a strategic position, toehold at Bourrier is very interesting for shareholders as it's a total blue sky deposit. We are, in this particular deposit, have a volcano-sedimentary unit, sequence of quartz-rich paranite, and we are also looking at lithium, tantalum, and cesium deposits in this area. The advantage continues in terms of looking at the price scenarios that we have. So going back to the PEA, which was done 2 years ago, we used a conservative price, and this was before our management team came in, but the independent study showed a price of 916 used to determine the NPV. What we are seeing today in terms of the basket price for the various flake sizes that we have in our distribution is higher than that. So the current forecast selling price for 94% graphite is about US 1,070. That's using benchmark prices. We are seeing basket prices and statistics that the graphite producers have a selling price of over 1,500, looking at all flake distributions. The United States has been importing at about 1,300 per ton. So we definitely see a runway for price improvement. But I think the biggest factor that is going to impact the price is this. What is happening right now is all going through China. China is controlling the market. They do all the processing. There is going to be the time, there's going to be the need, and also the willingness to develop a market in North America for graphite. We've seen already grants from the DoD going out to 2 graphite developers, Graphite One, South Star. We're seeing Nouveau Monde doing very well in developing their project in Quebec. So all of this is really leaning or leading towards a price point that is going to be established for North American product. And we can definitely verify that in terms of the conversations we're having with automakers is also looking at a different price perspective than what is currently happening through China. So we are creating an industry, ladies and gentlemen, and it is so exciting because we are able to bring in investors in the very early stages and to be part of this journey. You can see here the NPV shows that at 1,500, we have an NPV of $520 million. We are currently trading at sub $10 million on the stock exchange today. So great upside here. You can also see it here, looking at it a different way. The Lomiko advantage is that we have a low capex relative to other projects. Again, we are in southern Quebec. And so to build out a project, it is sub 250 million, about 240 million established in the PEA. And that against the high quality, high grade graphite con that we're putting into the market, we are showing a very strong relative prospect compared to other very high capex projects and lower con that are around the world and also in Canada here. These two are Canadian projects. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the completion of the formal part of the presentation. And so I am going to now review the questions that are coming towards me and respond to some of those. If you do have anything you want to ask me, please feel free to put that into the chat box here. We have about 10 minutes, which is great. So I will look at the first question here, discussion of infrastructure for Loutre. Thank you for that question. The infrastructure is an interesting one because we are early stage, so we haven't built out the project. And what we do have is access to roads. We have access to hydro lines that would need to be augmented and expanded to get into the project. But this is not an off-grid project. We are not fly in, fly out, and we have seasonal seasonal challenges in that we want to work with the community and have the production go on in periods where there is not the high season summer traffic coming through. So when you have a project like ours, it's very interesting because you can work with the community to figure out what are the least disruptive access points to the project. And I think what is amazing is that we are the closest to the United States Battery Highway and to Quebec, also the CSPG production that may occur in Bécancour. So it is an interesting project from that perspective, and I think is why we have such a competitive capex relative to others who are operating in the north or who want to operate in the north. There's a question on the residents of the municipalities. I think it is important that we address questions that come, and these are really legitimate questions coming from communities around North America, around what it means to be developing projects like this that are not off-grid. And in the world today, we need 97 new graphite mines. We have very high quality graphite. We have the opportunity to bring in tremendous investment into the region, jobs in a region where there is high unemployment. So even at the study phase, we have very clearly said that in the PEA, to get to PFS, you need $10 million. That is all invested into Quebec R&D, and we believe that we can add value to the community and to Quebec and to science by moving projects like this forward and being a responsible developer. And I think that energy security is something that we have to understand entails having projects around us, good projects, well-built projects, responsible projects that have minimal to no impact on the environment because we manage that appropriately. And also being there to ensure that reclamation is done in a way that is to the needs of the community. So thank you for that question. I'm going to go to the question here about accessing provincial or national funds to support your build out. It is definitely a time of disruption in how we are looking at energy. As you can see, we've got a lot of turmoil in the world, and what we're seeing is that energy security, ensuring that we build our own supply chain by Canada for a solution in North America, is an imperative. So the grants have to match what the needs are, and the needs right now are to move companies from resource to reserve. There is a lack of investment there. We are definitely pushing the envelope on that as a responsible proponent, and we are actively pursuing grants at provincial and national levels, and we'll be disclosing how we do on that as time moves forward. But I think it's a really exciting time in 2024 as we see what the opportunities are here in Canada. There's a question here about what are the current sources of graphite for North American markets. So again, in the past, there was no EV market. The EVs were coming through China and abroad, so there was no need to import graphite for anode. That's why everything is changing. Now what you're seeing, as I mentioned to you, there's about 30, I counted the list yesterday, I counted 50 battery plants in North America, planned or under construction. All of them are going to need anode and cathode material, and they are going to need that to be domestic. So right now, it is all imported. And that is not sustainable. And synthetic graphite, for those of you familiar with this market and wanting to know, what about the substitution or even silicon-based technologies, they do not exist at the commercial scale that the lithium ion does, which depends on graphite and natural flake graphite. Synthetic graphite is a petroleum coke product, and it requires a tremendous amount of heat, and there are a tremendous amount of carbon emissions resulting from that. So really the best choice is to develop these responsibly operated mines in North America to feed in what is a brand new demand profile in North America. And how does La Loutre compare to Nouveau Monde's Matawini project? I think what has happened at Nouveau Monde and Matawini is a great example of what it takes to move a project forward. There was a lot of learning that took place. There were many years of work, and we are now able to take all that understanding and learning and apply it and accelerate it. So if you look at the mine life at Matawini, 10 more years than we have currently, but again, the 15-year mine life that we have is based upon the PEA resource, not the improved augmented resource that we issued last year, which showed a 180% improvement. So we do also want to look at similar things like dry stack tailings to ensure that the tailings is appropriately managed and there are minimal risks to that. And I think over time, what you're seeing here is that Quebec is developing a competency and an absolute global competitive advantage in graphite. And we are right there in the south with an earlier stage project that is looking to take all the knowledge that is out there and accelerate it. And we are moving towards that goal in 2024. So I thank all the supportive shareholders who have chosen to invest in the long term and be on this journey with us here at Lomiko. And I think the upcoming catalysts that will drive a re-rating of Lomiko, the re-rating is certainly an interesting question. As somebody who's been in precious metals for well over 15 years and I've invested, I have seen a different reaction to critical minerals in terms of how gold companies would react. So things like exploration results or updated resources frequently and generally re-rate a gold company. But in graphite, this is a different business. This is a different business, and we have really come to this understanding that it is a long-term investment. We are building a new energy supply chain here, and it's going to look different than what exists in China, and it's going to be better because we're going to do it our way, the Canadian way, and we're going to supply and create jobs or supply North American suppliers. We're going to be hiring people here in Canada. And so what I see as the catalyst is the reception towards taking graphite as a key aspect of what Quebec is bringing to the table and feeding it into the North American supply chain. And that's going to happen through more grants. It's going to happen through more studies and research that we complete, and really seeing other successful developers moving forward with their projects. So I am excited, and my team is excited, and I would like to encourage you all to ask us anything. Follow us on our social channels. We are active answering questions on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and we would really like to keep in touch with you. So thanks for your questions, and I wish you all a great day.